this is like one of the Steven Spielberg movies I wasn't really looking forward to. Not because I didn't care about the content, not because I didn't care about, like, you know, it being Spielberg. It's just something I was like, I feel like I've already seen it. Which, to a certain extent, yeah, kind of. It's a pretty straightforward movie, but there are a couple surprises, so I am excited to talk about War Horse. War Horse was released in 2011. It was written by Lee Hall and Richard Curtis and directed, of course, by Steven Spielberg. No spoilers, but the general idea is it's right before World War I, and this young wee lad finally got a horse. He's wanted a horse that kind of connected with him for a while. So he connects with this horse, he begins to train it, and they're using it to help the farm. And then, because of unfortunate circumstances, the boy's father has to sell the horse to the war, so he has enough money to, you know, pay rent and stuff. The boy is obviously devastated, and it's mainly about, it's complicated. It's mainly about the horse, about where the horse goes during the war and who gets a hold of him and about who he touches and whose heart they touches. It's so beautiful. But the movie wants you to think it's mainly about the boy trying to find his horse during the war, which, yeah, it kind of, that's like the main human plot, but honestly, that's not even the main plot. Like, that's not something that I noticed even. All right, first of all, we lose the main character after about half an hour of the film. We lose the main human character. And then he comes back about an hour and a half later, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot you were still, like, looking for him. I do think that is one of the bigger caveats to the movie is it doesn't give you the main story a lot. It just kind of, they're like, yeah, you're welcome to assume he's looking for the horse, but, like, that's not what we're telling you. And then by the end, it's like, oh, we were right. He was looking for the horse. Very cool. They don't balance the two stories very well. I will say that both stories are good. I liked watching him look for the horse, and I liked watching the horse in the war going between these different groups of people, and I thought it was really cool. I do wish it was balanced better. I wish they went back and forth a little bit more, just so we can see, like, the progression. Like, it can be like, you know, he goes here, he goes here, he goes here, he goes here, and it kind of follows that linear path. But instead it was more like, the horse does, like, 5 things, human does 1 thing, horse does 5 things, he does 1 thing. And then by the end, it's this really beautiful moment, and I think it's really cool. But there's one scene in particular I want to talk about because I think it's absolutely brilliant. There's this awesome scene where the horse, his name is Joey, gets caught in some barbed wire. And I forget who's at war with each other, but one group of them is like, oh, we're going to save them, so they wave the white flag. We're going to go get the horse from the middle of the thing. Then the other guy from the other side of the trench, on the opposite side of the war, comes over with some shears and says, hey, I'm here to help you get the horse out. And it's this awesome moment of, like, neutrality. They're in no man's land. They have every right to just shoot each other, but they're helping each other for the sake of the horse. And I think it's a beautiful moment, and it's a real thing that happened, too. Like, you read about, like, I think it's World War I, might have been World War II, where on Christmas Day, they stopped fighting. They went into no man's land. They all had a party and, like, celebrated, and then the next day they went back to the trenches. They were shooting at each other, and it's just like this crazy war thing that I still can't wrap my head around. But it's a really neat aspect to it that I thought was well, and I think it was really well done in this movie personally. The pacing is good, actually. It's surprisingly not bad. It's not great. It is 2.5 hours of a movie that does not need to be 2.5 hours. There's like a couple points where, like, they set up a couple characters and then they just don't do anything. I will say the acting is pretty good. We have Jeremy Irvine as Albert. I thought he did a wonderful job. Unfortunately, he didn't have a lot to do. Which brings me to my next thought, which is Steven Spielberg can get some really high-paying actors for, like, nothing. Like, there's Tom Hiddleston, David Thewlis, and Benedict Cumberbatch in this film, and none of them do jack shit, basically. Like, they're in the movie for, like, 5 minutes, maybe, maximum. And, like, yeah, Tom Hiddleston wasn't a huge star at the time, but, like, Benedict Cumberbatch was, and David Thewlis was, and, like, Benedict Cumberbatch had, like, what, I don't know, 3-4 minutes of actual screen time here, and for nothing. Like, you could have had not Benedict Cumberbatch and it would be fine. But, like, Spielberg can bring in the people, I guess. I don't know. I feel like it was a little strange being like, Hiddleston, Thewlis, Cumberbatch. And then to just not go anywhere with their characters, really. I think David Thewlis, out of the 3 of them, had more to do and was the most interesting character. But still, like, I'm still a little whiplashed about why they were even in the film, personally. But I don't know, it's a good movie. Like, I didn't think I was going to like it. It's a beautifully shot film. It's wonderful storytelling, and it's just a nice, heartwarming movie if you can get past the 2 hours of war first. And, like, yeah, there's a lot of scenes where it's just, oh, war, and then, oh, story, oh, war. And I don't know, it's a Spielberg thing, though, to do that. It's like in a war movie with Spielberg, you know there's going to be scenes of just war that don't really do much except, like, look really cool. And then you go into story. And I do wish that there was more story within the war. There's this beautiful scene with Tom Hiddleston towards the end of his character arc in the war that is just a beautifully shot, like, scene, and it actually is in the middle of the war and has stuff to do with the plot. So I liked that a lot, but a lot of the war scenes were just like horse running, gunfire, horse running, gunfire. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but like, can you not? Like, we don't, if they cut the war scenes out or made them a little shorter, we get the point. It could have been like 2 hours long. That would have been pretty nice, but whatever. It's a good movie. If you haven't seen it, I definitely would recommend it. It is on HBO Max if you have not seen it, so definitely check that out on there if you are interested. But I'm going to go ahead and give War Horse a B+. Have you guys seen War Horse? Let me know in the comments down below what you guys thought about it. Again, I think it's a good movie. I think it's a beautifully shot movie, and it's an interesting film. Does have quite a few issues with it, but it's still a very good film. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. I truly, truly appreciate it. Please consider subscribing if you're not already. Helps me out a whole lot, keeps the channel going. So please, 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 please consider doing so. And as always, keep watching movies and television, stay educated, and I'll see you guys in the next video.